This episode of Brains on Games will look at a pattern building game about art students. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we're going to talk about a card game where the players are art students who are trying to create a canvas that is going to meet their professor's requirements. It's a game that was sent to me not too long ago by the folks over at Crafty Games, and it is a game called Abstract Academy. Now, this is a game that you can play with 2 or 4 players. It's not 2-2-4, it's 2 or 4 players. You can play a game with kids aged 8 and up, and it only takes about 20 to 40 minutes to get through a game of Abstract Academy. Let's take a deeper look at this card game. I've laid out some of the cards here, but you can see from the box that it's the size of about 2 playing card decks side by side. So you're going to be separating out all of these different stacks of cards into 2 piles in order to fit them back in the box. So the game does fit in the box. There's absolutely no room for sleeves. And you've got these cards that are, they're thin cards, but they do have kind of a linen finish to them. And I will say, as soon as my son saw these cards, he was like, give me the box. I want to see what's going on with this game. Right away, it pulled him in, and he was interested in what's going on here. Inside that box, you've got some inspiration cards that look like sketchbooks. You've got assignments in each of the 3 colors that appear on the cards. There are some professors that will give you some goals that you have to meet. And there is a great big stack of these canvas cards, which look like this on the front. They're all divided into 4 quadrants, but sometimes you have the same color going across 2. And these cards are absolutely gorgeous. They don't have a physical texture to them, but they certainly look textured. It looks like somebody has taken a paintbrush or some sort of a blade and added these to the 4 quadrants of the card. This is a particularly good one. You can even see some shadow on it. And that's what drew my son in right away. It's very rare, I would say, for this 18-year-old to want me to give him the box so that he can see more about a game before we've even started to play. Abstract Academy is a light strategy game where you're building up patterns with your cards, and it's a game where what you're trying to do is earn the most victory points after 3 rounds. Those victory points are won by completing assignments or by matching some pattern on your inspiration card or by doing what the professor wants you to do on that particular round. Abstract Academy is played over 3 rounds, so you're trying to have the most victory points after the end of those 3 rounds. So it is a game that's all about end of round scoring. You're going to try to score. Well, in the first round, you're going to have 3 assignments that you can complete to grab some victory points that are worth 3 points each. In the second round, there are a couple of professor cards that could give you victory points, well, worth 5. Each of those cards is worth 5 if you can meet the professor's criteria. And in the third round, there's a mixture of the 2. So it is all about end of round scoring. And here, in this case, the 3 assignments that I happen to draw work quite well together. You'll get some points if you have the largest blue area on your side, the fewest red areas, and the fewest yellow areas. Sometimes the goals don't work together as well, and you may find yourself shooting for one, but that will prevent you from being able to get one of the others. You start each round with a hand of 3 of those canvas cards, like I showed you earlier. You also get an inspiration card at the start of each round. And the inspiration card is an additional mission for you to complete for some extra victory points. It's hidden from the other players. So unlike the assignments where you're all competing for that one, nobody else knows what you're competing for when you're doing these inspiration cards. So there are hidden goals. That's another mechanism in the game. Each player is going to have a hidden goal that the other one doesn't know about, but might be able to guess as they become more familiar with the game and these different cards that are in the deck. You will start with those 3 cards. Each time you play a card into the canvas, you draw a fresh one, so you've always got a hand of 3. And players are going to take turns filling up this grid. It's sort of a grid completion game. And in a 2-player game, you've got a grid of 4x4 cards that you're trying to fill in. And in a 4-player game, it's a 5x5 grid, so there's a bit more space to maneuver. So I would play one, my opponent would have to play one that's orthogonal to the one that I've played, and you're gradually building up the grid. There is some strategy, though, because there's no set grid on the board, so maybe you're trying to get that largest blue area, and you're building things up I don't really have good cards to get the largest blue area right now, but you might be building things up this way. But if your opponent manages to play, say, a card on this side, so now the grid is 4 wide, you can't keep playing over here. So your opponent can sort of look at which direction you're playing in and may be able to block cards being played on this side by expanding the grid in the opposite direction. So you're gradually building this 4x4 grid, and once you've got, you're not going to be able to see the whole thing here, once you've got your 4x4 pattern, you're scoring only in the 2 rows on your side. So I'll be looking for the largest blue area in the first 2 rows in front of me, and my opponent will be doing the same in the first 2 rows in front of him. So you're looking at building up these patterns, and you're creating this abstract canvas of 3 different colors, yellow, red, and blue. Once your 4x4 grid is complete, then that's the end of the round, and it's time to look at scoring. You'll look at the first 2 rows of cards in front of you and see if you've completed any of the assignments. Then you get to claim those victory points, or see if you've matched the pattern on your inspiration cards. In later rounds, you're going to have professors who are giving you these assignments, and the professors are actual artists. And I found myself looking at the names and the pictures of the canvases here on these cards, and I Googled them to see what they're painting. I didn't recognize the names of all of the artists that are in the professor deck, so I wanted to learn more about them. It did spark some curiosity. So the professor's assignments are things like, if you've got the most color areas that have 4 or more quadrants, so you'd be trying to build up an area that has the same color across 4 quadrants and have more of those than your opponent. Albie here wants you to have a balanced composition, and that means you're going to count the number of quadrants of each color. You're going to take the highest, subtract the lowest number from that, and then the player who has the smallest difference is going to have the most balanced composition. And then you've got Klein here, who wants to have the longest path. So you'll look through here and you've got a path of 4 red, for example, on this top part, even though I don't have yet the bottom row because I don't have enough space here on the table. But that's the beginning of a pretty good path. 1, 2, 3, 4 quadrants over here. So if I continue the red across the bottom, maybe I'd be able to get those 5 victory points. You've got all of these mechanisms of hidden goals and pattern building and grid building and those end of round bonuses. What are the skills you're working on when you're playing a game of Abstract Academy? Well, this is really a visual spatial game. So you are trying to lay out those cards in a way, and you can lay them out upside down or right side up as long as they're all in the same direction as the other cards, so you can spin them around any which way. But that's a visual spatial exercise. You're trying to create these patterns on your side of the board. And then there's the pattern recognition portion as well. So you're building patterns, and you need to recognize whether your pattern is matching the ones that you're trying to create based on the assignments or your inspiration card that you're working on. There's also, of course, the artists and the art styles that might generate some curiosity. This is a knowledge of, okay, well, cubism, what is that? You can see a little tiny example on the card, but your kids might want to, or you might encourage them, or you might do it yourself. You might want to look up more examples of what is that style of art. Who is Klein? What do their canvases look like? What kinds of paintings did they make? Why are you scoring some points in this way in this game of Abstract Academy? So it is one that I think sparks some curiosity, and it's also got those beautiful cards, and it makes me want to play more and pull it out again. Final thoughts about Abstract Academy. Obviously, this is a game that I like. This is a beautiful abstract, appropriately, it's an abstract game with a name like Abstract Academy, but it's a beautiful abstract strategy game that's easy to teach and easy to learn. Younger kids can play it. It's one that where you're creating these beautiful patterns with these beautiful cards. And for an 18-year-old who's pretty jaded about these games and usually just says, okay, just show me what to do, he wanted to see more. He wanted me to hand him that box. He was really impressed with the patterns on these cards. So it's quick, it's simple, it's beautiful. You've got real artists and real art styles that might create some curiosity and encourage kids to do some research and maybe develop some appreciation of this kind of abstract art. And you've got also, I like that idea where the grid isn't set at the beginning of each round. So by playing cards in certain spaces, you may be blocking the other player from being able to win one of these cards, get those victory points by completing an assignment. So I like that extra layer of strategy that's added on by creating the grid as you play. If there was a knock against the game, I don't have much I don't have very much that's negative to say about it, because I really did enjoy it. It's one we're going to pull out again, but you've got that little skinny box and a big thick deck of these canvas cards, and so you're going to be separating the canvas cards in half and then creating a stack with all the other decks. There's no way to really organize the cards in the box, and if you're a sleever, you're not going to be able to sleeve them. I don't like to sleeve cards, but I do like them to be organized so that everything is quick to find and it's not an organized box. Also, it's very specific in terms of the number of players. It's 2 or 4. So if both of my kids were home, this isn't a game I could pull out and just play with the 3 of us. Could I get my wife to play? Well, if history has taught me anything, it's that she's not going to want to play a game with me. So it's usually just the 3 guys that are playing. So unless my son brings his girlfriend, or my other son has a girlfriend or another friend over to visit, we're not going to be able to pull this one out because there is no 3-player version. So it's 2 players or 4 players only. And for some, that might be a deal breaker. Not so much for me. One of my kids is out of the house, so my son and I can pull this out at any time. And that, in a nutshell, is Abstract Academy. Thanks so much to the folks over at Crafty Games for sending this one my way. Like I said, we really enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, if you are wondering about your favorite artist, is your favorite artist one of the professors in this game? Don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below. Do you have a favorite art style? Maybe I can skim through all of the inspiration cards. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. You can also email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.